was in for 28 years. I got ready to call it quits. You know, the reality is, you know, if I could have moved on, but you're going to spend another 2 years following the general around, and at the end of the day, why do that, right? But so when I got ready to transition out, I was like on terminal leave. I submit multiple resumes, and you know, I think I'm a pretty talented guy. I had a great deal of success in the Marine Corps, and but I wasn't getting any callbacks. And what was interesting about it is my wife and I, we went to a wedding. and what was funny is there was a lady there that she at the time she was working with Navy Fed, and there was a lady there that used to work with Navy Fed. She was there as a friend of the bride. And long story short is, she was like, I'm a realtor now, and I'm selling 2 or 3 houses, you know, a month, and I'm sitting here on this bench thinking, and I'm next to her, and I'm thinking to myself, if this lady can do it, of course, I didn't know her from Adam, but if this lady can do it, I can do it. I can do that. And literally while we were driving home, Billy said, why don't you get your realtor's license? Because she had had hers before. And I literally was thinking that same thing. So I went home, I enrolled in the course, and 2 weeks later I had finished the course and was waiting for my state exam. And another week passes, I take the state exam and get it done. And quite honestly, I didn't know anything about what I was doing, but like I said, I knew I'm a talented guy. And it worked out that, you know, helping people buy houses and sell houses is really the same thing I did every day as a Marine. You're managing expectations. You're helping people achieve their goals. And at the end of the day, I started this was in 2017, and my wife and now partner was still working at Navy Fed, and after about 2 years of doing it, we were successful enough. I had enough success in the business to be able to then, Billy, she left Navy Fed and joined me and became a partner in my team. So I guess if there's anything, what you've done throughout your career or your time in the Marine Corps, the military in general, creates it. It builds skill sets that you don't even realize that you're using, but it also has connections that will always be there. So I guess if I say anything is, don't be concerned that you don't have the tools to get out there and do it. It's already built into you. You've been doing it for however long you've been in service, and it's something I think that makes complete sense. Have faith and confidence in yourself. That's it. I did 28 years in the Marine Corps, and sometimes people ask me, they say, hey man, why didn't you just go ahead and do 30? And I said, who wants to be called a lifer, right? But the reality is this. I loved every day I was in the Marine Corps. Well, not every day, but I loved the entirety of it. There were days that, you know, we've all chewed on that dirt, and that dirt can be unpleasant sometimes. So that reality was, you know, you get to a point, you do what you love for so long. How do you step into something that's different than that? And that was my fear, you know. People ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? I decided I didn't want to grow up, so I became a realtor. But the reality is that wasn't really the case. There's a lot of responsibilities that go along with that. The reality is, I retired after 28 years. I'm a Marine Sergeant Major, and I'm truly blessed to live in Pensacola in a community that is full of veterans families, like-minded people. And the positive reality is that I walk into a door with another veteran, I have built-in credibility. And that's the case for many of you out there. You have that credibility, and the reality is you're not going to besmirch that credibility, and you're going to go out there and take care of people. And I think that's what made me successful. Opportunities to, like for example, we actually just signed closing yesterday. A friend of mine, I knew him when I was on active duty, and I helped him buy his house a few years ago. I just helped him sell it, and it's a relationship, and that's kind of what this really important about this transition out of here is those relationships, and taking it not advantage of, but I can't even think of the word, but use those relationships to create those opportunities for you. When I was at Matic 21, I used to tell all those young pilot students, hey, what you're about to do for the next 2 years is going to open doors for the rest of your life. Well, I'm going to tell you, for everybody out there that's spent time in the armed forces in general, everything you've done has opened doors or created opportunities for you. You just have to know how to take advantage of them. I'll tell you a quick story that may give you an example of that. 2.5 years ago, I had a listing on a house, and we had a customer call us, and they were in Virginia at the time, and I took the call. They wanted to see the house, so I went out and I did a video walkthrough for it. I showed them what was available in the house and what it was. It turns out that wasn't the house that they purchased, but they thought later on did buy a home. There's something to this story. They did buy a home, and then they referred someone else to me, and another person to me, and then that person referred somebody to me. Then they referred her mother to me, who I helped them buy a house. And then less than a year later, I helped them sell the house. And those kind of relationships are built by actual doing what you say you're going to do. And that's just one example, but it's not about relationships, it's all about relationships, right? So you take care of people, and those people are going to take care of you, and you open doors every day. So those people had confidence in what I was going to do for them, to the point that they were willing to tell their mother that this guy's going to take care of you. And that's big. And I think it speaks to how you go about creating successful opportunities, is that you put your best out there, and that best is going to do something for you. One time when I was at Paris Island, I was a drill instructor, and my first sergeant, I was working in his office for a while, and he came in every day beating me up about the morning report. Just kind of crazy. It's just a little off the story. And he's like, morning report's wrong, Sergeant Pruitt, blah, 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 blah. And then finally he got tired of beating me up and he just said, can I cuss? He said, God damn it, Sergeant Pruitt, this fucking morning report is yours. It's what you're saying that you're all about. So if you present something to somebody, that's who you're saying you are. So whatever it is you go about doing, you do it to the best of your ability because this is who you're telling the world you are. And I took that and I actually brought it inside. And it helped me in kind of almost everything I've done. So what you present to somebody else is how you want the world to perceive you. And if you want them to perceive you as somebody that don't pay attention, that don't care about what you're doing, and don't do the things you need to do to take care of them, that's exactly how they are going to see. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm probably way down a rabbit hole, but here's the reality. My relationships inside the Marine Corps and then with the military community has opened doors, but also how my partner and I treat people is directly related to our level of success. They know that we go out and we do something for them. We're going to do it the best of our ability. And I think that's important.
There are young people that are going to see segments of this and be like, I can do that too.
Yes.
Yeah. And your story about your morning report, I think, is really salient too. Right?
The what?
About the morning report.
Yeah.
And what he said to you, and then now you're not. He put it back on you.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely did.
So he tried it one way, that didn't work. So now, and that's brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reverse psychology-ish,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're really taking ownership. It's about you now. It's not about the damn report.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Here was the story. I'm out at the rifle range, and the first sergeant comes up to me and he goes, Sergeant Pruitt, come here. And he goes, what did you do? And I was like, I didn't do nothing, First Sergeant. Then he shows me this letter where this kid said, I was being IT physical training on the quarterdeck, incentive training actually, on the quarterdeck until I passed out and Sergeant Pruitt was kicking me in the rib cage. Then he took me on a 10-mile run and he drew squiggly lines like this, like with heels. And the highest point on the freaking Paris Island is the rifle range berm. So clearly all full of shit. But he goes, what did you do anything? When they interview those recruits, is there something going to come out? I was like, well, I pushed this kid back against the rack. And they sat me down. And I went to work for him. And so that was my second cycle there as a hat, right? And another thing that I grew exponentially during that time there, that time that I worked in his office, which is about 3.5 months or so, maybe 4. It was basically the rest of that cycle and the next cycle. Then so the senior drill instructor I had that was in he was my first senior drill instructor as a drill instructor. He hazed the shit out of me. He worked me from lights to lights for freaking 40 days. And I was there all the time. That means that I was there an hour before the lights come on to 2 hours after the lights go off. I had a 45-minute drive to work and a 45-minute drive from work. Lights come on at 5 and they go out at 10. Every day for 40 days straight.
So you
I literally
in a rack 3 hours a night.
and there were 10-mile periods I don't remember driving home. It was fucking horrible. He treated me like shit. And the truth is I let him treat me like shit. So while I'm in the office working for the First Sergeant again, John Farrell's his name.
Now, so wait a minute. He's the one that rode you for 40 days?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I got set down, right? I'm now working for the First Sergeant. This guy that was my senior in my first cycle is now a series gunner sergeant. So he's in charge of 3 platoons and these other guys, right? So and he comes in. Well, first sergeant comes into the office and he goes, "Sergeant Pruitt, have you seen this?" I said, "I think series gunner sergeant, somebody got it." He goes, "God damn it, First Sergeant Pruitt, this is your fucking office. The only person that takes anything out of here is me or the CO. Do you understand?" "Yes, I do, First Sergeant." Then a few days later, Billy Burns, this asshole that hazed me for a fucking month straight, comes into the office. He's now a staff sergeant, and I'm still a sergeant. So I'm at E5. He's at E6, he comes into the office. So we're on the second deck. So and he grabs something out of one of the boxes there. I said, "That's a Burns. That's not yours. Put it down." He goes, "God damn it, Pruitt, I'll whip your ass and throw you off this fucking top deck." I said, "You might whip my ass, but if I go off this fucking top deck, you're going with me. Now get the fuck out of my office." And Niels, I swear to God, my career changed literally from that day forward. I realized that I was not going to be pushed around. I was going to stand up for myself. I was going to do my job, and it changed. And that put me on a trajectory that got to me to where I was in my career when I retired. So I can very distinctively point the time that I understood what it meant and what it took to be successful in the Marine Corps, and I've just taken that and transferred it to where we're at in this civilian world. It was very distinct. It's very distinct. You don't have to treat people bad, but you can't let them treat you bad. You've got to do the things you need to do to make sure that how you represent yourself is how you want to be represented. And those things absolutely changed my trajectory. It really did. First thing I guess you want to say is that you've got to be willing to put yourself out there, right? You've got to, number one, I admit I have a decent retirement. My life is pretty comfortable, but the life that we were living when Billy was working at Navy Fed would have dramatically changed if I hadn't been willing to put the work in it. We're willing to put the work. You know, every day you go in and let's talk about it. Your day don't end at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Sometimes you're working on transactions till midnight, but you got to get it done. But the reality is, the other side of that is, you're helping people achieve the American dream. 9 times out of 10, what we do in real estate transactions is the largest purchase that anyone will ever make in their life. And it's serious. And there are risks. There are, there are, when you go into that, it not only is personal, but it's financial, and there's some accountability, and that accountability is very important, I guess. And you want to make sure that you can, number one, do the best thing by your client, making sure that you follow all the rules, and those rules are very strict, but there's a reason that somebody's been sued over something. So ethically, you want to be solid. You want to make sure that you're accountable for your time, accountable for the cooperating agent's time, and getting the transaction complete. And that's really what it comes down to. I hope that answers it some. We were in Kuwait, and there was an Iraqi division that was literally right in front of us, and we were engaged in some kinetic fight, and I'm the lance corporal in the back. I'm a scout. I'm not really pulling the trigger or anything, but I was like bona fide. I was concerned for my safety, because we're in a very thin, in the scheme of things, light armored vehicle in its name, and there was a division of Iraqi tanks out there, and I understood that my leadership was doing what they needed to do to win, do the best to win this fight, but I still didn't change my. Maybe this could be the night that I die, and there was some stress in that, right? But then and again, this is me. This is not anybody. I prayed, and I've not probably prayed in some time, and the strangest sense of calm came over me, and I wasn't concerned about what was going to happen. And I think that's important to recognize. A higher power is in charge of this, and as those things that happen, they're happening for a reason, and you don't have any control over it. What you can control is how you respond to it, and I think that was something that was, I think it was important. So you fast forward, oh gosh, 15, 13, 14 years later, and you need to take that?
No.
13, 14 years later, and I'm back in Iraq, and during the initial push into Nasiriyah. We pulled through Nasiriyah, and then you see the carnage of the Marines that were killed in the Amtrak's, just outside, just outside the bridge there, and then we pull into a battalion-sized coil, and we're now kind of in this basically the same scenario was in 1991, except for now I'm the gunny, and and I had a young driver, and he's a little freaked out, and I was like, look, we're here to make to do these things that we need to do, and it was an interesting perspective to see the other side of that. And I guess if there's anything, I understood what we were in, and I did my best to help him understand what we were in. What had been funny is that before we went to deployed, right? He was like, I can't wait to get over there. I said, you just keep that in mind. We just want to make sure that we have the tools we need to be able to get through this, because it's not as glamorous and it's not as much fun as you think it is. And so that was interesting. That was, I guess I used my perspective from where I'd been to help him, and that team on that vehicle to be able to do the things they needed to do to stay focused and get through that evening's events, and actually throughout the whole, the deployment. So it was interesting. So I guess you grow and you learn a lot, and things that you don't even think are really something that you learned from.